Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Better Together, a conversation about the live event industry and getting back to live. Today, I am joined by Bonnie. Say good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning, Dave, and hi everyone who's watching it live or recorded. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
How are you doing? I heard that you are moving house. Is that a little bit disruptive? How's it all going?
A little bit is, the list, right? It's super disruptive. But after last year, anything is, we've been living in the same place for 15 years. So there's a lot of stuff, apart from the 3 kids that we made during those 15 years. There's a lot of stuff that we moved. And actually, I also moved or stored all my event clothes. So I'm wearing a t-shirt now. I would have worn something more official, but as you are wearing a t-shirt as well, I think we're good, right?
Absolutely. It's just a relaxed, casual conversation. So it's all good. Mm-hmm. So let me jump straight into it. How did you get your start in the live event industry, and why did you stay?
So the beginning for me with live events, or with events in general, was completely a sheer coincidence. I never saw or planned to be in events. I studied electricity engineering in the university, graduated with amazing grades, but I always said I am still the worst engineer in the world, and I'm happy to compete with anyone on that title. I will win easily. I worked at Cisco for a couple of years, coming from a small startup. I did all kinds of roles in marketing and business development around security and then other areas. And back in 2011, I was made redundant. And I could kind of relate to that to a certain extent. I wasn't at my best for sure. And then an opportunity came to be responsible for the presence of one of the Cisco's architectures at the Cisco Live event in London. It was back in 2012 at the Excel. And I took this opportunity because I wanted to stay, but I had no idea how big of an impact this will have on my career and on my life in general. And back then, the guy who was managing Cisco Live, the broker, who's still my manager, probably saw something in me or kind of got an idea that maybe it's a good fit for me. And then he took me to the Cisco Live team. And ever since then, said I never looked back. That's how I, found my place, and I've stayed until now because I enjoy it. It has really been a big change for me from the work I've done in the past to working on events. The level of creativity, the level of passion that I bring to the role and to the team is second to none from my perspective, from my experience. And as long as I have this passion and great, I would say, joy and excitement from what I do, I would love to stay. And hopefully, we can continue doing those live events one day, right?
Absolutely. I think everyone is hoping that they'll be back sooner rather than later, but a lot of patience is required in the meantime. It's amazing to hear about that you're able to do a job that you're so passionate about. I think it's a real privilege, isn't it, for those of us that are involved in this industry to find something to do with our lives that we can be so passionate and interested in. We find so motivating and so meaningful. As you look back across your career, this could be an impossible question, but which of the jobs would be your favorite? What's your favorite job and why? If it's possible to answer
that. Yeah, I think as I look back at my career, probably the one I'm doing right now, or let's say the one I used to do until the corona hit us all, right, is the favorite. Leading Cisco Live EMEA. I've been doing it for the last 5. I lost count. For the last 6 editions of Cisco Live, since Milan and then Berlin and then Barcelona. These 6 years have been, in total, the favorite role that I've done. And I think one of the reasons I've been staying in this role for 6 years, which is longer than the usual at Cisco. At Cisco, usually you would move after 2-3 years to a different role, is because I honestly enjoy the role, and there's nothing better that I would like to do at the moment, right? Pending what will happen in the near future. But that's by far the best job that I've had. And as you said, as you alluded to earlier, it's so different and rewarding compared to the jobs I've done before. That's why I find it so still interesting and exciting to be.
Brilliant. And so tell me a little bit about in what ways your life has been different over the last year. It's affected everybody so much. Everybody's had to change in such significant ways.
Sure.
What's it been like for you? How's it changed for you?
Mm-hmm. So if you ask my wife, and I can bring her to the discussion, she would say that for Bonny, life hasn't changed a lot, because I used to work from home. I used to work in the attic at my house that is now being renovated next door. So I used to work upstairs in my kind of office, and I've been working from home for probably 7-8 years, and hardly ever went to the office because my team is scattered all over Europe. So when I want to meet them, it's either via WebEx, video conferencing, or when we used to travel quite a lot. But the actual work, the way I used to work has not changed because of the virus, because of the COVID. What did change, and it actually took me quite a lot to accept it and to realize that, is that, our world and the baby, which is Cisco Live in my case and in the case of my team, is changing completely. And we had our last in-person event at the end of January 2020, just before the virus hit EMEA or Europe. And we had an amazing event, 18,000 people, great success, the biggest and the best to date. And then it hit the world, and the Cisco Live events in APJC and in the US went completely digital. But we still said, hey, but our event is only in February 2021 in Amsterdam. There's no way the virus will stay. We will definitely go ahead. So we were kind of avoiding or ignoring this big red alarm that was all over the place until we realized, okay, it's going to hit us as well. And it hit us really hard because we were not fully ready to accept this change from physical to digital. We always had a digital component to our event, but it has never been that prominent or that focused. And obviously moving from a small digital component to a full-blown digital event is a big shift. Not everyone, the expertise that you need, that you look for in a physical event are different from a digital event. We were laughing between me and Joe, which is my right hand, or the ops lead for Cisco Live EMEA, that, one of the benefits of digital event is that you don't need to take care of catering anymore. Because catering for us or hospitality was a big deal. And if Lizzie is listening, she would know what I'm talking about. But it was like one of the biggest things, right? You need to make sure that the experience is amazing, even though the food is not made by Cisco, but the experience should be related to their overall feeling and experience with Cisco. So you don't need to take care of catering. That's a plus on one hand. But on the other hand, there are many things that you can't. Sorry?
Massive difference from previous years to doing a digital event this year.
This is just one example, but the other, there are so many examples. I think specifically when you look at our events and those big corporate events that are focusing on education, the experience is very central or very very profound or important, right? So it's not just about sitting in a session room and listening to the speaker or asking a question. It's what happens between the sessions and all the things that happens in the evening. You go out with the customers, with the partners, with the account manager, and you can't quantify that to a certain degree, but you can't ignore it. Okay, so the shift to digital, although it provided some, let's say, opportunities or new things that you can do differently, there are a lot of challenges that are yet to be solved.
How was the kind of networking component to it? You touched on how important it is, everything that happens between the sessions.
Yeah.
How was that? How did the event that you did a few weeks ago, the fully digital version, how did that compare, I suppose, in that respect?
So since I'm Israeli, usually I'm very direct, right? So I would say there was no networking element, right? But it's not the, actually there was some networking, but it was mainly on social media. So there was a great effort and some great ideas, creative ideas on how to get people engaged and share their excitement over social media, whether it's with all kinds of virtual hats that you would put on and share your picture wearing a Cisco Live hat. And we had kind of all kinds of wacky hats that you can create, or take a picture of your child wearing a Cisco hat. Our attendees usually, the networking geeks, they like this stuff. So, but again, not all of them probably, but some of them did. We ran some kinds of competitions as well. So that worked pretty well. But, you can't really compare it to meaningful networking opportunities where you get to meet new people, make new connections. I think we have not really nailed this in a digital world. How can you really make meaningful connections? Okay, so there's one thing, social media, which I think we're doing pretty well. But there's then these meaningful connections that are there to last, and then people get to meet, year after year when they come to the event. And we haven't seen, how we haven't, figured out a way to really solve it in a digital event. And to a certain extent, we did some experiments in the past, but we decided that it's not really worth it. And then, some areas or some components of a live in-person event just don't work in a digital environment. Okay, so it's not copy paste, and I know there's been a lot of discussions around that. Digital event is not simply taking all the elements of a physical event, copying them and pasting them to a digital environment. That's not the right way to do things, right? And we all realize that. And now we're learning it even more. One of the benefits of digital, obviously, is that you get more people to attend, right? The number of participants we had in the digital event was by far bigger compared to the physical events.
Do you know what sort of proportion, like how much bigger are you talking? Is it kind of a 10% increase or 50% increase?
No, it's probably, again, there are a couple of reasons, right? So with the physical event, with the digital event, we had an option to attend for free and also a paid option. But in total, we had more than 100,000 attendees for the global Cisco Live that we concluded 3 weeks ago. And in all the 3 physical events, we had around 50,000. So I would say double the number. But it's not exactly.
But I guess it remains. Yeah. No, of course. Like the absolute number is not really the key. It's kind of the objectives of the reason for the business and what they're trying to achieve and what comes out of it. And I guess that takes much longer to feed through in terms of those results. Presumably those take kind of 6, 12, 18 months down the line before you really start to see the return, I suppose, and the variation and I think, impact. Do you think you have a sense of it already, or like in terms of the business?
So again, we have no doubt that live in-person physical events have a much bigger impact on the bottom line compared to digital events. This is, again, that's a fact, at least for Cisco, and we see it loud and clear. A lot of the attendees we have in the digital event are coming to watch maybe the keynote, the opening keynote, 1 or 2 sessions, maybe the performers, the performing band, or what have you. But the bottom line, when I say bottom line, is how impact it has on the bookings for Cisco, or on what impact it has on the sales at the end of the day, it's pretty low. Whereas in a physical event, this is one of the most important weeks of the year for the sales teams at Cisco, because that week really shortens the sales cycle and really brings our customers even closer to Cisco than what they were before. So it is, as you said, what are the objectives? What do you focus on? Because when the event is over, you can highlight the number of people, you can highlight the number of viewers that you had on social media, and you can hide some of the less attractive numbers, right? So it's what do you want to position and how do you want to look at it? I think as one of the sales persons in Netherlands summed it up after the event, he said, concerning the circumstances, it was a good alternative, but it can never replace a physical Cisco Live. And I think we all agree, but I just want to make sure that we don't fall in love with those digital events and we kind of forget, again, that my belief and my it's not just a belief, it's my modus operation is we have to go back to physical events or find, maybe something else to do. I don't know. For me, it doesn't bring me, the digital events do not bring me the same excitement as you get. I was doing the event 3 weeks ago, and I didn't feel maybe 1% of the excitement that I would have felt if I had been on site, meeting everyone, greeting everyone, checking all the areas. It was such a different experience that it was very strange.
Absolutely. There's not the energy. There's not that sense of connection. And like you say, when you kind of said at the start, there isn't that meaningful sense of connection with people, of that shared experience. Are there any things that you think actually could be better that you kind of learned through doing that event a few weeks ago that you might take back into the live event as it returns and goes hopefully real again sooner rather than later?
No, I think, with all the challenges, I think trying to be positive, look on the bright side. We've learned a lot. And it's a very good question. What will we take from those learnings and implement back when you go back to live events or a hybrid or a fusion or what have you, right? I think one of the things we learned is content is still super important, but there are different ways to deliver the content. When we had live events for Cisco Live, where the content is very heavy on technical content, most of the sessions were pretty long, between 90 minutes to 2 hours, and the speakers would refuse to shorten their sessions. Now doing digital events, all sessions were capped at 45 minutes or less, and speakers did not complain or didn't say anything about it. I think even when you go back to live events, I would definitely like to use this opportunity to reevaluate the necessity of those longer sessions and maybe bring some of the innovations or different delivery methods that we've been using on the digital events to live events. It also allowed us to pretty much, I would say, challenge everything. Because again, we're not just copying paste. And even when we go back to live events, we can challenge ourselves maybe slightly better and ask, okay, what about the exhibition floor? Because there are some areas where we've been looking into changing for a couple of years, but we never really got to do any significant change. And I have a feeling that now going out of the virus, going back to live events, we could do things, I'm not sure better, but differently. I don't know exactly yet how and what, but yeah.
It could be a really interesting time for innovating, like you say, for kind of pushing some of those new ideas, trying out new things as people find and explore new ways to do things. I think that's really exciting. Yep. That's a really exciting message, I think, for our industry that, yes, things we've had to change a lot, but it's going to be an exciting time of continual change in the near future. One of my kind of final questions to people is, what does hybrid mean to you? And we kind of touched on that a little bit, but that sense of unified or multi-site or fusion or hybrid that you kind of referred to, what does that mean to you, and does that have a place?
Yeah, to me, hybrid is somewhat of a hype these days. So everybody uses these words when it comes to events. It used to be with cars. Now cars are fully electrical, so no more hybrid cars, but there are now hybrid events. Others are using the word fusion. I mean, there's all kinds of people are coming up to. I did some reading because I was trying to start. We started as a team to think about our next event, which is supposed to happen in February 2022, and we did realize we made an assumption that the event we will be able to do a physical event, which is still not a given. But if we are to do a physical event, it will have some sort of a hybrid component. So it's not going to be just physical; it will have a digital component. But as I said before, we've been doing a digital portion of the event for many years by broadcasting the keynote and some sessions and having a TV studio on site for interviews and a lot of sharing what's going on in the show floor. So to a certain extent, we did this, like, let's say, somewhat hybrid, maybe 95% live and 5% digital already. I haven't seen any real hybrid event yet. So all events are still digital mainly, right? So it's still yet to be seen what is a true hybrid event. How does a true hybrid event look like? And by reading all sorts of articles from very important and intelligent people, I haven't seen anyone coming up with an idea that, okay, that makes sense, this would work. Because at the end of the day, I think the biggest challenge is how do you make those remote participants experience the same as those who are on site. And then the risk is, if you can make it happen, then why come on site, right? So then there's no, you're cutting your own tree or your own branch to a certain extent, right? So for me, a hybrid event, if I were to do an event now, would still be focusing on those who are coming. Again, assuming that everyone has the vaccine, anyone is safe to travel, people are still allowed not to travel, then to choose not to come for whatever reason. But if the COVID is over, the virus is over, people can come, I would focus on those who come and dedicate their time and money to attend the event, and would enhance our digital program so it will allow those remote viewers to experience more than what they would have experienced in the past. But still, to me, the focus should be on the people outside. Okay, and that's very clear the way I see it. Yeah,
absolutely. I think there's so much that's lost, isn't there? There's so much that's lost with the disconnected experience. But it's interesting what you're saying in terms of the content and the shorter sessions, and actually some of those learnings would probably work slightly better for the alternative sort of channel of people watching remotely. But yeah, I think we're all keen to get back to live as soon as possible. So in closing, what was the best piece? This is a question I ask everybody. What was the best piece of work advice you were ever given? Or do you have like something that you live by?
Yeah, well, live by, that's a big one, but maybe a couple that I got. I mean, 3 that I actually learned last year or during the pandemic, but one that I actually got before that from my manager, from Ferd, which was all about, whenever you get an email or a message from someone and you feel like you want to punch that person in the face because it's really like so frustrating or annoying or what have you, wait 24 hours. Sleep over it. Go swim, go run, go eat, do whatever, go drink. So you have a bottle on your window there. Whatever, before you reply. Okay, wait a little bit. Because I'm sometimes I might be slightly aggressive or too direct. And when you take the time, 24 hours, you get your head clear, your thoughts cleared, and then the response is more constructive. Okay. So that was one that really helped me quite a lot. But 3 that are relevant these times is one is keep calm and find a way, which is really, I mean, something we lived by it, especially in the last year. Find a way, even if there are hurdles. There's always objections, or people are not always buying into the ideas that you have. Find a way to get them engaged. Find a way to bypass any challenge that might come your way. Find a way. The other one was also find a way and the chameleon. Adjust and change according to the needs, according to people we work with. We have to. And even if you're used to work in a certain environment in a certain way, things change all the time. And start, as much as it's hard to, embrace change. And I'm not a person who likes change a lot, but this year had kind of forced me to get used to it to a certain extent. There's still a lot to learn, and I'm definitely not an expert, but I think we got some elements of doing that. And then the third one, which I heard actually on this event that we had 3 weeks ago, was you can go bitter or you can go better. And which is, whatever life throws at you, you can become bitter at that and angry, or you can, that was really a good one. I just learned it now, so I'm trying to practice it. Yeah, trying to practice.
You can be better or you can be better. I love that. Really, really good. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Bonny. It's been brilliant to have this time to spend with you. I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation, and I hope it's helpful to other people across the industry. We'd love to hear from more of you, and there's quite a few people booked in now through till May. But please do get in touch if you'd like to join one of these conversations. Bonny, thank you so much for now. I really appreciate it. But
thank you very much, Dave. Hopefully, we'll see you face to face soon.
Somewhere. Absolutely, in the real world soon somewhere. Take care. Bye bye.
Yes. Cheers. Bye bye.